Hello everyone, Robert here, and welcome back to the Game Room's Otaku Corner. I'm doing this little vlog today on Season 1 of Star Trek, the original series, which I have been going through since roughly about September of last year. I've actually been going through all of Star Trek, celebrating its 50th anniversary. Let's see. The 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, yeah, 50th anniversary. And especially since we've now got Star Trek Discovery, which has actually been getting some pretty good reviews. No better time like the present, right? And sorry if my eyes tend to track off to the left and the right here. The camera, I'm using the camera up here on my computer, and there's lots of different stuff I have to look at here on the screen, so yeah, it's going to track off. Anyway, need to get started. I've been posting about Season 1 on MAHQ, so I won't really go back through that. Excuse me. Let's see, where did I leave off? I think it was The Conscience of the King, which would be episode 13 if you don't count The Cage. So The Conscience of the King lets us into a little bit of Captain Kirk's background, that he was on a colony planet where a dictator named Kodos the Executioner executed a bunch of the populace, and now Kirk has a chance to expose him as he is present aboard the Enterprise as part of a theater troupe. The funny thing about this episode, when I originally watched it, I actually watched it before I even did this rewatch. I can remember as they're going through the investigation and the story, and they come to this point that they need people to personally identify Kodos. And I'm almost reaching towards the screen and shaking the screen, and I'm almost screaming, "What is this crap about identification? Do a DNA... I can't talk tonight. Do a DNA test. What is this crap? Do a DNA test." And then I remembered they didn't have DNA tests in 1966. So unfortunately that dates the episode a little bit because, it's supposed to be set in the 23rd century and you'd think they'd have DNA tests, but no. Anyway, the identity of Kodos is exposed. He ended up getting ironically killed by his own daughter, and his daughter is nutsy cuckoo just like him. It's actually a pretty good episode. Then there's Shore Leave, where the Enterprise encounters a planet that can make almost whatever you imagine come alive. I say almost because, of course, the budget didn't allow stuff that you see in the TAS episode they did on the Shore Leave planet, like dragons and giant cats and stuff like that. But all in all, it is a pretty interesting episode, although you could say it's the forerunner of what is going to happen on holodeck episodes in TNG and the future. Then we come to, I already did a post about the Galileo 7, so the Squire of Gothos. This is a fairly interesting episode, where the Enterprise crew encounters a being known as Trelane, and he seems to be basically omnipotent, which has led to some speculation that he is in fact a member of the Q continuum, and that his parents are Q. Of course, that would run counter to what's presented in the Voyager Q episodes, that if there have never been any Q conceived through reproduction. But since that also contradicts a TNG episode, and the Voyager Q episodes, with the exception of Death Wish, are monumentally stupid, we're going to forget that. And you know what? Yeah, I'll agree that Trelane's a Q. Why not? I already did a post on Arena where Kirk fights the Gorn. Then we get Tomorrow is Yesterday. I think this is the first Enterprise Star Trek time travel episode. I think. Yeah, let me look it up all here. Dagger of the Mind. Naked Time. Oh yeah, the Naked Time actually does deserve special recognition because holy crap. The only reason that virus spreads to the crew of the Enterprise is because the guy that goes down there with Spock is a freaking idiot and takes off his protective clothing. I really hope that guy was kicked off the Enterprise for being that stupid. Anyway, yeah, tomorrow is yesterday. I think that really is the first time travel plot in all of Star Trek. The Enterprise accidentally gets thrown back in time by a black star and ends up at Earth um, in the modern day, 1960s. Well, it could be sometime either in 1966 or 67. And a jet fighter pilot ends up seeing the Enterprise. They have to bring him aboard, and they have to try and erase their presence there. It's not a terrible episode, but honestly, it dragged for me. Star Trek will do, honestly, in my opinion, better time travel episodes, and also much worse time travel episodes. And DC Fontana in particular has done better Star Trek episodes. Court Martial. Um, this is an episode where Kirk is accused of killing a Starfleet officer, and we have to go through a whole court sequence. It's a classic bottle show, um, classic twist in that the guy that Kirk was accused of killing is in fact still alive and is setting him up to be framed, and even includes the cliche of the down and out lawyer who's in it for uh, the purity of the craft, I guess I would say. Um, what else? Uh, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a very good episode. I would highly recommend it. Give it a thumbs up. Then we get Return of the Archons, which is a sort of prototype. Enterprise finds a mysterious Earth-like planet, and something is not as it seems, and they Kirk and Spock have to figure out what's going on and save the day. Um, Pretty good episode. Again, kind of drug for me a little bit, but I wonder if that's just because that's due to the conventions of, late 1960s film and television writing and production. So after Return of the Archons, we get Space Seed, which is, of course, the episode that sets up Khan Noonien Singh, the genetic Superman, and the prequel to the movie The Wrath of Khan. It is a fairly good episode, although there are a couple of uncomfortable things about it. Star Trek, for all of its many virtues, was never very good to women. Partly because it was a TV show from the 60s, so sexist 60s, and partly because of, well, some of Gene Roddenberry's predilections. But that's a very long story. We're not going to get into that right now. Particularly what I'm talking about is how Lieutenant MacGyver's falls in love with Khan almost instantly, and because of that is almost instantly willing to do his bidding, turn traitor, commit mutiny, etc., etc. There's a painful scene where Khan basically browbeats her and basically forces her to do his bidding. It almost kind of makes it ring a little false when you get to Wrath of Khan, and Khan is so pissed off that MacGyver's died on SETI Alpha 5 and is blaming Kirk for that and a bunch of other stuff. But other than that, it's still a fairly good episode. It introduces a memorable villain who, of course, will come back and become even more memorable. And honestly, I would say Khan is more memorable in the movie than he is in this episode. We get a taste of Armageddon, which is an interesting episode that examines how an alien race comes up with a way to sanitize war, yet at the same time removes the element that makes war horrific and makes you want to not have war. Um, it's a pretty interesting examination, and definitely worth at least one watch, I would say. Then we have This Side of Paradise, which frankly bored me to tears. Honestly, I wouldn't say it's a good episode at all. Again, DC Fontana has done better. And if you want to watch it at least once, fine, but I would bet you might find it as disappointing as I did. Then we get another one of the really classic episodes, The Devil in the Dark, where Kirk and crew report to a mining outpost where mysterious deaths are occurring, and they find the strange rock monster that's a lumpy rock monster that's causing all the deaths, and then realize that it is in fact an intelligent creature and has been killing the miners because it wants to protect its offspring. And all's well that ends well, ending except for the guys that died horribly. Sometimes Star Trek kind of has a tendency to forget the horrible death in its rush to prove how enlightened it is. Errand of Mercy. Oh crap! What was Errand of Mercy? Oh yes. Oh yes, of course. This is the episode with the Organians and Kirk realizing that he was so intent on trying to protect the Organians and stop the Klingons that he almost, I don't know if it would be accurate to say started a war, but almost ended up fighting in a war that he actually didn't want to fight in. So it's a classic episode featuring one of the classic Klingon enemies. Let me just make sure I get this right. Kor, yes, that was Kor, not Kang or Koloth. This was Kor. Then we have the alternative factor, which is the episode. Yes, this was the episode where Kirk and crew run into a man named Lazarus who seems to be jumping back and forth between realities. In particular, he's jumping back and forth between an antimatter reality where he is fighting with himself, and Kirk ends up having to help him seal himself, not Kirk, Lazarus and his antimatter self in null space, if I remember correctly. That's my dryer alarm. I'm doing laundry too. Seal them both away so that they will never destroy both the matter universe and the antimatter universe. Then the next to last episode for season 1 is City on the Edge of Forever, probably the most classic episode of Star Trek. Definitely one of the most classic episodes. One of only 2 episodes of Star Trek, I think, that ever won the Hugo Award, the other being The Inner Light from The Next Generation. And of course, the story behind this episode is been told and retold many times, how Harlan Ellison got pissed at Gene Roddenberry for claiming that his version was no good. I haven't actually read Ellison's original script to City, but I have heard summaries of parts of it. Would Ellison's original version of City, would it have been better? Honestly, that's a matter of debate. Let's debate it in the comments. How about it? And then we get to the last episode of season 1, Operation Annihilate. Oh, geez, what was this? Oh, yes, this was the episode where the neural parasites show up on the colony world where Kirk's brother is, and unfortunately kill him. And they have to try and figure out how to put a stop to it, and Kirk has to try and control his need for revenge. Good episode. Wish we actually had seen a little bit more of Samuel Kirk and learned a bit more about Kirk's family. Interestingly enough, I wonder if I went and checked if Samuel Kirk from the Abrams Star Trek timeline is actually still alive, or whether he ended up dying too. It would be interesting to find out. Overall thoughts on the first season of Star Trek, the original season. It is very good for the most part. There are a couple of meandering episodes, one episode that I honestly think is just truly bad. That was the aforementioned This Side of Paradise. But overall, pretty solid and really demonstrates why Star Trek became the classic that it is and why it's continued on for more than 50 years. Um, yeah, I'll offer some more thoughts about TOS as a whole when I get to the end of season 3. So for now, I'll be signing off. This has been my little vlog on the rest of my experience watching Star Trek TOS Season 1. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below for more of these videos. I'm going to be posting them on the Game Room Live channel, but then moving them over to their own separate channel that is still associated with Game Room Live. And also don't forget to check out our Game Room Live content. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.